Hello, everybody. This is Deadshot. I have been playing a lot of Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance. I'm on 5th cycle. I have been on the grind, basically. And I want to share with you some of my Godborn difficulty tips, because the difficulty is very hard. It makes both of the super bosses in the game, spoilers ahead of course, if you don't want to hear about anything relating to all of the end game content in the game, click off now. But the two super bosses of Demi-Fiend and Satan are especially difficult ones, and so I wanted to share some of the tips and builds that I used in order to combat them. Now, first thing I will note is that everything I've grinded up to 999 because it's completely overkill. I'm just a sadist. Like, you don't have to do anything. Not a sadist, I'm a masochist. You don't have to do any of this. So, main point is just the builds, because all stats really change is how long something takes. So, this is the main build I ended up using for most of it. One notable thing is, if you don't have as much vitality, Kanami Veil is one I could swap out for Murderous Glee, because most of the time I will be doing a strategy that I will show you later, where I use Omnipotent Succession and then pass turn on Nahabino until I get Magatoki critical, in order to slap them with a bunch of Marakumos. So the crit chance just helps me because I am tanky enough that I don't really have to worry about anything. And then for other Nahabino builds, there are some other notable skills you can get. Trying to look actually. Mainly, where is it? Sorry, I completely. Is it Ultimus? Okay, no. There we go. Heavenly Ikumiyuki. This is the best magic skills. Damage increases based on number of debuffs. I don't find this as useful as the physical build, because obviously you're not striking any weaknesses with this, or hitting crits, or nothing like that, which is kind of the advantage of a magic-based build. You can kind of just slot it into the build, though. In fact, even I could slot it into the build, since I did max out my magic, because I felt like it. Anyways, alright, next one up is Masakado. So, there's a lot of important things to note with Masakado. Scarlet Blade is one of the most broken innate skills in the game, increasing your critical rate for the amount of buffs and critical damage for the amount of buffs you have on yourself. This, with Recalibrate Execution, is straight up broken, because normally Recalibrate Execution on critical does not deal more damage than Marakumo, as an example. Marakumo does deal more damage on its own, but with the buff from Scarlet Blade, Recalibrate is by far exceeding it. It's got an extremely high critical chance thanks to all of the critical rate buffs. Only problem is that Masakado, in order to use it on Godborn difficulty, you do have to have one creation run completed in order to unlock him. So if that is something you wish to incorporate in your builds, highly recommended. One of the, not even the best demon for damage in the game on his own, without using some of the hyper-specific Nahabino strategies in order to get the most damage out of his builds. Next on up, Beelzebub. Honestly, next on up is Beelzebub. This is honestly just one of the easiest decisions to slot into my builds. Dona Magacy is the only part of it that I don't necessarily need a part of my build, but mainly just for other builds. Now, most people will use a demon that has a Luster Candy S skill with healing. While I do think that that is a very good idea, Beelzebub fits way too many of my other slots. First of all, Beyondetta. I'm not using a Herald, Megami, Femme, or Lady in the party, because the other skills I get are much better. But if you do plan on using these, it would probably be better to run a different demon. But if you're not using any of these, Debilitate will minimize the stats upon first use. Now, with Tandava, that isn't as important, but when an enemy starts buffing, you can minimize a stat as long as you get a crit. Because usually I have Beelzebub in my second slot. If I get a crit with Masakato, I can pass enough to get the Beelzebub and Debilitate twice in a set of turns, as well as Luster Candy twice in order to maximize my stats. So, in terms of roll compression, Beelzebub is that guy, like straight up. He does a lot of things for the build. He can land crits during a Mark critical to pass turns. I mean, he can pretty much do anything I want him to do. So, extremely good part of the build. Amagatoki Savage is an important part of this. I didn't mention it before, but Masakato has a decent Amagatoki critical momentum, or Amagatoki skill, momentum, which adds press turns for every defeated foe, but like, unless you are fighting the super bosses where you can get pretty good kills, that's not as useful. Savage is one of the best in the game. Double MP cost for double damage. During certain phases, like, that can be broken. Like, for example, if you're using Omnipotent Succession, you can pass that turn on your Nahabino until you use a Savage or an Amagatoki critical, which is one of the best strategies for damage in the game, because you can either hit 4 double damage Marakumos, and if you're critting all those, that's insane damage, or 4 guaranteed crit Marakumos in a row. And with another strategy where you get rid of all of your demons from your active party, if you dodge in the previous turns, I think the number is like 10, 11. You can hit like 10 or 11 Marakumos in a row, and that'll end most fights besides the super boss fights in the game. So Beelzebub's an important part of that strategy. Very amazing one. Highly recommend this demon, especially if you don't have a Herald, Megami, Femme, or Lady in your party. Shiva. Shiva is so unbelievably useful in this build. Tandava is crazy. Tripasarma, MP reduced skills with active charge effects. Okay, pretty good. Mainly just because Donum Gladi is always going to Masakato on my build. You can pass it to Nahabino, but most of the time I'm trying to set up a good Omnipotent Succession with Nahabino, so I can't give him Donum Gladi, otherwise he'll get rid of that effect. But the rest of it, Tandava minimizing defense, Donum Gladi to Masakato for increased damage, reducing his skill cost, which Recalibrant Execution is extremely expensive, so that is very much appreciated. You might need Life Drain on your build in order to keep up with the MP cost, but yeah, if you run these 4 demons, yeah, I use them because my stats are so good. I was able to use them for like every fight in the game, including the super bosses, but this setup can clear, unironically, every single fight besides the super bosses with lower stats on Godborn difficulty. They are amazing. When I went into Godborn difficulty, my stats were around like 300 on all these demons, and it was still enough to absolutely wipe the floor with almost all of the content. Now I will start going into some of the other builds. I'm going to be much quicker with these ones because these are less important to make and more of just personal preference. If you like these demons, why not use them? Alright. Yoshitsune, pretty simple physical build. Guys, Animus, yes. Skipping those. Megidork can do really good damage if there's a lot of enemies. You're fighting both the super bosses, summon enemies, so this is an option. New Game Plus option. Doesn't matter if you're in Godborn, you're already in New Game Plus, so this is one of your choices. Dawn of Demise, pretty good. Innate skill. Rid of Evil is a decent damaging one. Made this more for fun. Wouldn't really recommend, but it is an option. Metatron, you want a good almighty damage build, pretty good. Takuna Dikaja, yeah. Matrix Love, very good for some of the annoying bosses that like to use ailments. So the super bosses especially love to use ailments. Some of the Kadishtu do too. Good healing. You can even slap Samarkand, whatever you want on this. I don't really care because I just use Bombs of Life because I can just buy them. Nuwa, Sacrifice Clay, really good debuffing skill. This is basically like Frolic if it could hit more consistently. Dark build, nothing really advanced about that. I'll sit on it for just a slight bit longer if you want to look at that, if you're interested. Megiddo Flame, very good. Severe Attack, this is the hardest hitting one in the game, and it pierces and ignores. I have Dakuna and Dikaja. This is really good against Demi-Fiend, especially. So if you need a good Demi-Fiend fire build for hitting the weaknesses, really recommend this one. Good damage. Same thing. Unfortunately, this is one foe, but it is a very, very, very high damage skill with Chronos. So if you're looking to hit electric weaknesses and Demi-Fiend fight, good one throughout the game. Good one. This is my healing Luster Candy build. Very simple. You're supporting. You're healing. You're increasing stats. Konoha is the best version of it because of the MP and HP recovery, allowing you to make it so, like, for example, your Nahabino will never run out of MP, and allowing you to use Sakuya Sakura more, which is her best skill. Don't use Tau. You can if you want to use Light of Order. Basically just a worse version of Sakura, probably, overall. The removing debuffs is nice, but it doesn't have MP recovery, and it doesn't, like, the debuffs is nice, especially for the super bosses. That's the one use of probably Tau, is for super bosses. So if you want to, just copy this build, put it on Tau with Light Order. Although you will have to use a lot of essences, since fusing her is difficult to beat the game. I don't use the Demi-Fiend at all. Problem with him is that you can't use Grimoires or any stat boosts, so, like, the fact that he has amazing resistances and some decent skills just doesn't really even matter. Yoko, basically this is super boss of this is the super boss version of Shiva, because removing all buffs can matter a ton when the super bosses you're fighting are spamming the shit out of Luster Candy. That's why I gave her Donum Gladi and Luster Candy. I know my Shiva doesn't have Luster Candy, but Donum Gladi does have, which is an important part of that build. Here's a Tarunda fire attack from earlier. You know, that really good fire attack. This one does less damage than it, but obviously Kansura is useful in other ways, mainly because the Demi-Fiend doesn't actually Dakunda unless his stats are extremely low. So you can get his attack to -2, and he won't use Dakunda, and you'll still be able to do good fire damage and hit weaknesses. Yeah, so another dark build. I wouldn't, like, very simple. If you want it, you can have it. Best force build for damage in the game. Just made this as a completionist. Here's a Nahabio build, one of the hardest hitting ice attacks in the game. Actually, no, that is the hardest hitting ice attack in the game, my bad. And then, besides the Nahabino one, exclusive skill, Eternal Blizzard is one of the hardest hitting ice attacks, second to Wrath Tempest with all crits. Judgment Light, really good light damage, simple. Light build, and then the hardest hitting electric attack in the game, not counting the fact that Odin pierces with his, which does really good damage. Yeah, we're back at the beginning. This is the hardest hitting magic one. Really good if you're fighting anything weak to electric. Maybe you could use it for Nabino. Loop Guru is really early level, so this could be a good mid-game demon, but of course if you're watching this, you probably don't need that. And yeah, that is all my builds. And then now I will move on to showcasing some of them in battle, because believe me, this setup against these super bosses of this game rocks them. Like, that is mainly because I'm over leveled. You might need some of these other ones for specific situations with the other one. Like, for example, if you're fighting Demi-Fiend, you do need one of your demons to be an Avian in order to use this strategy, where once he is about to heal at 50% health, use an Avian in order to seal him so we cannot heal and make the fight much longer. Alright, so with that said, I will move on to fighting the two super bosses of the game, Demi-Fiend and Satan. When you think super boss, you think of Demi-Fiend and SMT 5. This is the first super boss that came out with the first DLC from the original game. I mean, I hope I wouldn't need to explain that. Honestly, like not like spoil. I mean, it doesn't even matter about spoilers, but I find Demi-Fiend to be easier than Satan. He has more rules and more cheese, but overall, I found Demi-Fiend very important to block. I mean, I have Demi-Fiend's affinity, so I do block that. Andava in. And then here's a good showcase of Recalibrant Execution. This skill, huge damage. Everybody, like, it's awesome. Get this splits in. Gladdy. In case you're wondering, I do have the music off. I love the music. Alright, good example there. Got Dekajed because of how the mechanics of this fight work. But thankfully, Pandava, Buster Candy, and we can always have that. So the Calibrant Execution matters so much for especially just, you know, hitting all the demons and making sure that Demi-Fiend does not get his Gaia Rage in. Going Gladi again. Because it's notable that you do have to kill these allies. I forgot how many turns it is. It's a you can search it up if you're actually interested in doing this yourself. You have to beat them in a certain amount of turns to prevent them from using Gaia Rage, which you do not have max stats built. So next turn he should be healing. I don't have an Avian to showcase the preventing him from healing part, but alright, so I should use Madeiron. Yep. So yeah, I mean, you can see my stats are very high, but overall, like, you would just be doing what I'm doing, like, over a slightly longer period of time. Make sure you do bring an Avian though. My recommendation is probably changing out Beelzebub for the Avian, because Beelzebub, like, yes, the debilitated. Oh my god, I got insta killed. The Beelzebub is a pretty important part of this fight overall, but he's not like necessary. Love turn reductions. Oh boy, yeah. It's probably notable. One of the main things I would be constantly focused on is Donum Gladiating and freaking Calibrant Execution, because you absolutely have to make sure that the other demons are dying. They're not dying, you're dying. They're fucking dying. Here I will show off the Omnipotent Succession strategy. So I'm just gonna actually keep passing until I have a full Magatsuki again. Damn, bro, they're clicking debilitated like crazy. God damn. Alright, this is a good example of where Cal would probably be better. Well, we make do. Want him up. God damn, bro. Stop clicking debilitate, please. Okay, yeah. Because I wasn't killing stuff, Gaia Rage activated. You're probably not gonna have to experience that if you do this right. I'm mainly just trying to showcase the actually. I'm gonna Luster Candy. I'm actually gonna swap Moscato for someone else who can buff us too. Just so that I can show off them in succession. Of course, you would do it probably while actually dealing damage to everything else. But I'm kind of getting it off right now.
I think you're so much better than a...
So here is the strat I'm talking about. If you're actually playing the game, your stats shouldn't be as low as mine now. But basically what you do is you back out with every party member besides the Nahabino. Make sure he's in the last slot just to work as possible. And then now you are here, Omnipotent Succession. You can use a market to be critical. And then now you have 8 opportunities to just hit him in the face with Mark. Now this is probably not going to kill him, but in order to finish him off, this is very, very. And like for example, I bursted down like probably around half of his health, something like that. Hard Godborn difficulty, Demi-Fiend. Probably enter with the full Magasuhi. I'm not gonna do that. I don't feel like going to grab it right now. Satan. So this is probably the hardest fight of the new game. These call allies are really annoying. He will heal off of them all the time. Megiddo Arc, that fucking hurts. Like, unbelievably. So, sometimes you would just get one-shotted by that. Nothing I can say is that if you do, really use, I forgot what that skill is. The skill that reduces damage, I talked about it earlier, I'll probably put it on screen here. Use it. Reducing damage in this fight, it matters a ton. And since you're going to be wasting a lot of turns with Nahabino, you might as well be doing something that benefits you. Alright, minimum defense, maximum dex. Boom. Sumo. Ready. So you can see, like, because of how much my stats are buffed, you're always getting crits. And for killing the allies, Moscato is so unbelievably good. So, of course, it is obviously possible without him. I mean, literally everything is. But, like, it definitely increases the difficulty. You do not have Moscato. See, that is what makes him really annoying. Because he can summon the enemies and then immediately heal off of them. Which, like, in any other game, he just would not be allowed to do. So his affinities change. Most of the time, I just ignore the affinity changes. Because my goal is just to deal enough damage to outdamage his healing. So he just wasted his turn phase charging Magatsuhi. One important thing about Magatsuhi in Godslayer difficulty, they don't use a Magatoki critical. They use a Magatoki Pierce. in order to ignore your affinities, which makes sense considering there's definitely plenty of ways in order to cheese bosses based on their affinities. So makes sense for them to do that. Minimize those stats. Soul drain, big thing he likes to do. Get rid of your MP. It'll matter much more if you're actually like needing an MP. Thankfully, Moscato is literally the only demon I have that likes to run out of MP. Half health. I should be located. But right now. Well, Allies is probably gonna heal this time. Maybe Megador. Yeah, heal. Very important part of the fight. Out damage that heal. He also has like a regular heal that he does a little bit later, where he just heals the full. Moscato's MP. Oh, I used the wrong one. Oops. So his MP again. Alright, we got Mark 50 critical. I've waited very long to set up this for Mahabino. Very great damage. Bloody. I'll make sure I use an actual summon. You should, if you're doing the right things, honestly, you should only really have one demon who actually does need you to give MP to. Moscato, and mainly just because he uses so much MP to deal damage. He shouldn't heal. Either way, I'm just gonna use damage, who cares? Wolverine, allies, yep. So yeah, should get through the fight here. Fight over. That's gonna be much harder when your stats are lower. Alright. That's it for the super bosses. If there's any stats you do want to work on leveling up, you can sell your glory for money. I can showcase that real quick. It's a decent amount of glory, but it is one of the fastest ways of getting money in the game. You can power level your Nahabino's attack stat. If you have a Masakato, you can power level that attack stat. Boom, 1,000 glory, 500k. Just farm glory. Get your money. Yeah. So that's that for that. Level up your Moscato's attack, your Nahabino's attack. It'll make those fights much easier. They're the most important stats for those, besides probably vitality. That's another important one, so just keep your demons alive. Other than that, the other one's not necessary, kind of useful. Yeah, with that, that is all of Godborn difficulty. It is a grind for sure, getting through it all. Remember, I did not start with 999 in every stat. I'm at the point currently where in order to make all those demon builds, I'm of course using item mods. Like, I have a lot of items over the limits. Of course, I beat it without those. That was mainly used just to make all of the builds, because 999 for everything is quite difficult to grind. But yeah, so find this guide useful. Like, subscribe. If you have any other parts of the game, I mean, I would hope you're not watching an end game video and looking for help in other parts of the game. But if you do end up having any other parts of the game that you want some help in, you know, uh, put a comment and, have a good one.